still operational as far as working out at PGV, working the shelters, having our fire and military personnel and police out there on the checkpoints, working search and rescue incidents, and just working out of the EOC planning and so forth. I'll just give you guys an update as to what we got here. So last night we had a pretty good, it was a big rush of lava broke through, looks like through a perch pond, and subsequently it took out approximately 10 houses at this point, probably might be more, but so it brings us a total of 82 structures, and which is 41 homes. Right now in the shelters, we've got a total of 246 people, which breaks down to 189 in Pahoa, and 43 in Keau, and 14 which are in the Sure Foundation Church. Hilco is doing some work as far as preparing the infrastructure in case there's breakdowns. So they're rerouting, as we speak actually, they're reconfiguring their power setup so that there's going to be might be a short outage in that area. And what it'll enable is if their line that goes down 132, if that's taken out, instead of losing power to all of Lower Puna, it will just keep it, the power outage will be limited to the Lower Puna area of like Kapo vacation land along the corridor of 132. Planning on meetings starting tomorrow night, 5 o'clock at the Pahoa High School gym. Just a community update, see what their needs are and answer their questions. And then Wednesday night at 5:30 at the Pahala Kau
High School.
At the Kau High School, which is in Pahala.
Right.
5:30 for a briefing for them. They're dealing with a lot of fog and ash. I was out in Kau yesterday, and they're having heavy fog all the way out to the Ocean View area, so they need to have that discussion again. So I think pretty much that's it for us the last 24 hours. And if you guys got any questions.
Can you speak a little more to the flow that took out these homes? Was it a significant event? Was it the collapse of one of the ponds that set lava flowing? What was the result of so many homes being taken so quickly?
Well, throughout the day, lava was coming out of, I think it was Fissure 7, and kind of just accumulating in an area, ponding, and then what it was creating was a perch pond. And then sometimes in the night, probably just after 7, I think, that pond broke, and that flow of lava started making its way down the streets in Leilani. And so both fire, public works, police, all, the area was defined. They went door to door to get the people out, or to warn them, basically. And kind of disturbingly, some people just refused to leave. And so, it kind of gives us terrifying insight into what's going on out there. We had one gentleman that had to be kind of rescued. His only way out was through his back door and through the forest. So, people are, we tell them they need to be prepared. If they're going to go to that extent, they need to know their escape routes. In this case, the lava's moving fast, and it could come again. So these people, Leilani residents and the surrounding areas that are putting themselves in this situation, they need to be very prepared.
How imminent is the threat to 132 and Elko's transmission facilities that you were speaking about?
Last report is that one flow has ceased, and Dr. Jim Kawakawa can also, give you the update on that one.
Can you give us an update about PGV, the one well that was overcome last night, holding, any problems with that, and what is the distance to the next well that may fall victim to the lava?
Well, there's several wells within that same pad. So two of the wells were taken or covered. Pretty much that's it. Nothing to report on those. So as far as feet wise, they're adjacent to each other, separated by a short distance, but the flow kind of stopped again on that one.
So as far as you know, the latch is held, no gas is released, everything is as good as you could have hoped it would be?
That's what it looks like. The work's being accomplished, and it's holding, so we're very happy that it went that way. We were ready as far as our monitoring system to make sure if any gases were leaked out, we picked them up. But I know Tom Travis, that task force that he's running, MPGB, they're working hard to make sure everything stays stabilized.
Is there any plan or work ongoing to quench more wells?
I think they're out there working. Well, the quenching's done. They're just working on one single well today, and Mr. Travis took out of here pretty early this morning, so I think they wanted to get on that one.
So they're working on quenching a fourth production well?
I believe it's a production well, and I'm not sure if it's quenching or plugging, but they're working on it. Yeah.
What was the county's decision to open up Pohiki Beach for surfers?
Well, we try to maintain some, semblance of normal life, and Pohiki's a pretty special place down along that coastline, especially for those that remember Kalapana and losing Kalapana and Kaimu and Eric K. Brown. And so the mayor understands the people's connection to those areas, and so he decided to have it opened up for day use only, where the surfers, the swimmers, the families can go down there.
So it's only the local residents can use that beach. No one else can use the beach, or is it open to the general public?
You can go and get your placard to access it.
Anyone can.
Anyone can. We're trying to keep it mainly to the residents.
For tourism purposes, has there been any discussion to try to open up any type of venue whatsoever so that the tour groups that are suffering can take people up there, so that the cruise lines or whoever else will say, yeah, we can provide some type of an opportunity for you to see something?
Well, one thing that's happening is the tour boats that are going out of Hilo, they're operational. So they can see the ocean entry and whatever flows that you can see from the coast. Right now, to let people in there, tourists not familiar with the area, possibly not being aware of our warning systems, and with the adventurous spirit to get into places. At this point, we feel that it'll be detrimental to our operation. But we thought about it. We were thinking about what avenues we can get people in there to view the lava, but we got to do it safely, and we got to think about everybody down there.
How big of a challenge was it last night when the perch pond breached? I understand there were quite a few people that were in the area. How big of a challenge was that for the first responders on the ground?
I wasn't in the office at that time, but so when it breached at about 7, took them. They organized right away, and again, fortunately, we had staff observe what was going down, so they reacted quickly, and were able to mobilize, pinpoint who was going to take what street, and did the door-to-door. And so it was pretty efficient, pretty quick. The hang-ups, again, were the people that didn't want to leave. And other than that, it would have been a pretty fast operation, but took till about 10 till things were stabilized.
Can you clarify on Howard's question about opening more areas for tourists? What spots were you talking about? Both of you guys.
I know from my perspective and talking to people on the tourism side, and they weren't talking about letting tourists go on their own, it was more you working with these agencies to, in concert, provide a controlled environment where maybe they can view.
Like into Leilani or some, not there, or I don't know.
I have no specifics.
Okay. Okay. So just real
told
quality.
people there have been discussions.
Yeah, so private subdivision, that's kind of out of the question unless the private subdivision wants to take that on. We'd be more the public areas.
On PGV, if you can mitigate the damage or the danger on the wells,
What is the real concern there from a hazards perspective? Is it the possibility of lava hitting the main structure itself? And if that, I take it it's quite a ways from there at this point.
Can you identify yourself first?
Miguel with CNN.
Okay. So what's your question again?
It seems that they can mitigate the danger to the wells at PGV. From a hazards perspective, what is your main concern? That if it moves to the main building of PGV, what are the hazards associated with that, and how far is the lava flow from there right now?
Well, it's not so much the main building. It is the wells that have been our concern.
And they can mitigate those quickly enough, either by quenching them or capping them?
Well,
as the lava encroaches?
It's quite a process, I understand. As long as the pressure's down, they can do the work on it. So it's, I guess, quenching them so that the pressure is reduced so they can work on it.
I see. And any injuries to first responders, minor or otherwise?
We've had about 3.
What sort? Burns?
Not burns, let's see. It's glass flying in one person's eyes. Those are kind of, they're serious enough, but, the people will be okay. We had one serious one where Department of Transportation person was working next to an excavator and it ran over his leg.
So on the job.
Is
Yes.
there any count of how many people came out of Leilani in response to the emergency alert last night?
No, we do have a list of everybody that was contacted, all the houses that went to, who were gone to, as far as who left the area. We don't have an accurate account of that, but like I said, we got a list of who was contacted.
How many people were there that first responders found or contacted last night? Maybe ballpark even.
Probably over 20 houses.
With people.
Yeah, that's a wild guess.
Thanks.
This is a civil defense message for Saturday, May 26 at 10:30 in the morning. Lava flow activity continues in the East Rift Zone of Kilauea. The flow in Leilani Estates has slowed its advance and is 150 yards from Ho'ohiki Road. The flows to the south continue to enter the ocean near Mackenzie State Park. Due to the volcanic activity, the following policies are in effect. Residents close to the active eruption must remain alert to changes in the flow direction and are advised to prepare for voluntary evacuation should their areas become threatened. Areas along Kamali'i Road are experiencing elevated levels of sulfur dioxide. Residents are advised to shelter in place or leave the area. Pahoa Community Center, Keau Community Center, and Sure Foundation Church are open. Food will be provided and shelters are pet friendly. Ash masks are being distributed at Cooper Center, Hawaiian Ocean View Community Center, Pahala Gym Annex, Shipment Gym in Keau, and Na'alehu Nutrition Center from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. today. We are on watch 24 hours a day for your safety. This is your Hawaii County Civil Defense Agency.
Take us up to the summit, learning today that the crater within Halima'uma'u has grown in 3 weeks to some 14 acres up to more than 90 acres. Yes. That's obviously a drastic change. What, if anything, does it mean?
Well, it has great meaning. The current Halima'uma'u was formed by explosions in 1924. Previous to that, previous to the explosions, Halima'uma'u was half the diameter that it is today. So, we are seeing 1924, many aspects of 1924 over again, and one of them is the widening of the actual vent down to whatever's down there. But we're also learning a great deal about how these explosions occur. We're getting more information as they continue. And one of the interesting findings is that they may be more related to gas than steam as we once thought. And our senior geologist, Don Swanson, is looking at all that data, and he is beginning to think that maybe the steam blast idea was not quite accurate, and then that's causing him to look back at 1924 when they had far less instrumentation and analytical capabilities, and thinking that maybe 1924 wasn't steam blast either, that it was the same mechanism, more like gas pressurization and expansion, explosion. But there are some instrumental measurements that contradict that. So as science goes on, we keep asking questions, but that's basically it.
Hey, this is Wendy Stovall. So today we are still seeing continued activity in both locations, on Zone and at the summit. This is kind of more of the same that we've been seeing over the past few days. The eruptive activity in the lower East Rift Zone is continuing to migrate back to the west along a fissure line. There's an approximately 2-mile long line of activity of fountaining, low fountaining of lava, and then those fountains are feeding massive lava flows that are channelized going down to the coast. There's 2 primary channels that are going down from the locus of activity, and the easternmost channel has split into 2 down at the coast, so now there are 3 ocean entries at the coast. Lays is issuing off of those ocean entries, and hopefully we'll get a weather update to talk a little bit about that. There seems to be a lot of lava being produced by Fissure 7, and that is in Melania State. The flows themselves are moving a little bit to the north, but mostly to the south from that point. And we have field crews on the ground there monitoring the progress of that. They've had a hard time getting closer to those flows because they are so voluminous. And then if we go up to the summit is pretty socked in today. It's very cloudy, and so we haven't had a whole lot of great visual observations of what's happening at the summit, but we do have some observations from cameras that are up on Mauna Kea. I'm trying to get the exact information about where these images are coming from, but we've seen a couple of plumes rise above the clouds from imagery coming from an observatory on Mauna Kea, and we did see a plume go up to about 6,000 feet above sea level, 6,000 to 7,000 feet above sea level this morning, but it was just a minor explosion. And then yesterday afternoon, one went up to about 8,000 feet. And then yesterday at about 5 p.m., there was a magnitude 3.9 earthquake at the summit of Kilauea. That's the general update for today.
Good morning, everyone. We continue to see the trade wind pattern as has been being briefed for the past couple of days. This trade wind pattern means generally winds are from the northeast and the lower levels. I do want to highlight that today's winds are expected to be the strongest that we've seen all week and that we should see in the coming days, with gusts up to between 20 and 25 miles per hour possible. I mentioned these stronger winds mainly because if there is an explosion or plume that occurred at the summit, as Wendy has just briefed, there's been a few, we could see the ash being carried a little farther downwind than we have seen in the past couple of days. However, because of this northeast wind, we are still going to continue to see the plume going to the southwest, pretty much from the summit down Highway 11 down to Pahola. I also want to note, though, too, with these gustier winds, the winds can also pick up any ash deposits that have recently fallen and can result in dusty conditions, possibly even reduced visibilities. We haven't had that report yet, but it is a potential with the gustier winds. As such, the National Weather Service is continuing to issue a special weather statement in effect for the Cal District, accounting for these hazards pretty much until further notice. One thing of note, Wendy was talking about the different plume heights. From a sounding that the Weather Service did earlier today, for your information, it would take a plume height of around 15,000 feet above ground level to have any ash interaction with any of a westerly flow, which would be taking it more towards the helo direction. So again, it would have to get to around 15,000 feet. Most of the plumes and explosions we've seen in the past couple of days have been between the 5,000 to 8,000 feet above ground level, which is why we are seeing the ash mainly on the northeast trade winds heading down to the southwest from the summit along Highway 11. And then turning our attention to the areas around the fissures, that northeast flow is impacting down there as well. during the day. Around the fissures, we do get the winds turning a little bit more to the west during the overnight hours, but they do weaken during the overnight, so we don't see too much of a turn in direction necessarily of any of the fog. So as long as the sulfide dioxide is being emitted from the fissures, we do expect the development of the fog in the vicinity of the fissures, and that northeast flow carrying them to the south and the west. And that looks to be ongoing for the time being. Also mentioned about the lays. With this flow, any of the lays that does form as the lava is entering the ocean should keep the threat immediate around where that lays is forming at the coastline, or taking it out a little into the ocean. And one last thing I wanted to touch on, because Wendy did mention about the earthquake. The Pacific Tsunami Warning Center is monitoring every earthquake activity. No tsunami threats at this time by any means, but just to make you aware that we are going to continue to monitor every single earthquake that does occur, and products will be issued as needed.
Hi, Jim Kawaikawa, U.S. Geological Survey's Hawaiian Volcano Observatory. I'll do a quick summary of what's happening. Vents 8 and 16 have reactivated. 22 and 13 are still the main southbound channels going into the two ocean entries, although that has been quite weak today. The biggest producer is vent 7, and from vent 7 there are two main channels. The north channel goes towards PGV property, and the south channel will turn around and go south, possibly making a new ocean entry sometime in the next day or two, if it continues. The PGV, the lobe that went towards PGV stalled early this morning about 6 or 7 o'clock. It was relatively stable for most of the day, and then it started to reactivate with new lava from vent 7 about the middle of the afternoon, or a little earlier than maybe on lunchtime. I was very slow beginning, but the lava flow did start to advance again. And that's why we're not there physically, and our drone team was pulled off just before to do another commitment, so we don't know exactly where the lava flow is on pad E that you were asking about, but we do know that the flow is advancing across pad E from basically west to east. There is another lobe of that flow that is going to the northeast, north of Pu'uhonuaula, and it is making some progress towards Highway 130, which is on the other side of the PGV property. At the summit, we have had almost continuous emissions of ash, with one event that went up to about 10,000 feet around noon. The summit is still deflating. The lower east rift is quite stable in terms of expansion and earthquakes. Gases in both areas, gas emission rates are quite high in both areas. I think our figure is up to 3 times what the initial gas emissions were for the lower east rift zone fissures. And even at the summit, emissions are still quite high. Any questions?
Can you tell us about Fissure 24?
Oh, yes.
Is there no lava coming out of that?
The new star. Fissure 24 was noticed this morning. It was actually a rather slow output. It was going into filling a pre-eruption crack in Lake Estates. It was certainly well overshadowed by vent 7 and the big fountain 0, which achieved almost a 200-foot elevation above the ground. It's been very dramatic. You can actually see that fountain very clearly on one of our east rift zone cams. It's called a PG cam. But Fissure 24, we don't expect it will probably last very long. It was very slow beginning. Sorry. And
did lava come out of that?
It did, but it was kind of pasty, and it just flowed into a crack that wasn't more than about 100 yards away. And the crack was pre-existing, so it was a fairly wide crack. Any other questions?
Fissure 7, any estimate on a number of the amount? Sorry, down here. An amount
Fissure 7,
coming out? At what rate?
It's a tough area to be in. We don't go up on the flow up to the channel because of the danger that there may be a little overspill or something that might trap us up there. So we're staying on the pre-eruption ground, getting what we can. views and angles and things to try to determine, for example, the lava fountain heights. But no, we so far don't have an estimate. I think we had one 3 days ago. That was just for the area covered by lava, which was about, as I remember, 3.4 square miles. I'm sure it's larger now. Any
Is there an estimate how far the lava from flow 7 is to Highway 130?
No, she just asked that, I believe. 132.
Oh, 132.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we do have a little bad news. That bypass line that we did run down Pohiki Road was covered by lava on Friday. But prior to that, we had already started plans for, I think what Talmadge had mentioned earlier, is to outfit the well that near Green Lake Tank. So unfortunately, that well hasn't been in operation for over 20 plus years. There's no power to the site, but we've already sent crews out there to evaluate the system. We have equipment coming in as we speak. We have crews working on access to the property. So we hope to get that up and running in a matter of about a week or so. So again, we apologize for that disruption in service, but we're committed to continue to keep water flowing to those areas of Pohoiki, Kapoho Vacation Land, and beach lots. As soon as we can get that restored, we'll get that restored to you folks. Other than that, we'll be available over there off to the side if there's any detailed questions. Thanks.